You know everyone remembers the 80s action movie. I talk about them all the time here on this channel. You had Stallone, you had Schwarzenegger, you had Willis, you had Gibson, you had Ford. The modern action film was invented and perfected in the 1980s before anybody else knew what the hell was happening. And then the 1990s arrived. Arnold was still around, Stallone was still around, but Hollywood had a problem. The genre they had built on the backs of just a handful of movie stars suddenly needed to cultivate some new blood for the next generation. What followed was one of the most gloriously weird decades in action movie history. Van Damme playing his own twin brother. That's a place to start. Crazy movies, fun action. The 90s movies didn't always land. Critics didn't always show up, and neither did audiences. But I have 10 of them right here that are a lot of fun, even if you consider them bad. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, kicking us off here at number 10 on a list of some crazy bad action movies that are really pretty awesome is 1994's Street Fighter. And I had to start here because it has one of the best performances in the history of video game films, and I will not be argued out of that position. Not because Street Fighter is a great film. That's not necessarily why it's here, though it is a lot of fun. Van Damme is an all-American military commander named Guile, despite being Belgian, no problem. And his accent is still there. And you've got Kylie Minogue as a soldier, a plot that makes no sense from the beginning in here, production design that looked like someone took a video game box cover and just gave that to the set decorator. None of that actually matters, though, because Raul Julia is in this film. And he is one of the great stage and screen actors of his generation. The man from the Addams Family, from Kiss of the Spider Woman, so many films. He knew that he was dying of stomach cancer when he was making this movie, and he decided to make this movie anyway because his children loved the video game and he wanted to give them something before he went. That was absolutely awesome. As a father, that is absolutely incredible. He decided that if he was going to do Street Fighter, he was going to be the best possible version of M. Bison that anyone could imagine. His performance in the film is operatic, over the top, completely committed, joyful, theatrical. He is a great actor who decided to give everything he had to the material for his kids, for the fans, in a magnificent, fun way. Every line reading, every physical thing, all the charisma directed in this thing. You had Van Damme doing his part. Street Fighter, fun, underrated. You can call it bad. I call it legendary, and I call it an epic gift from a father. All right, now speaking of Van Damme, we got to make one more trip to the Van Damme aisle with 1991's Double Impact. And yeah, this is Van Damme playing his own twin brother, and that's the pitch in the movie. Now this has been made popular here recently with Sinners, but this was actually done quite a few times in the past. There was nothing unique about that. And with the effects back in 1991, this looks every bit as good as Sinners, and Van Damme actually pulls this off really, really well. He plays twin brothers, Chad and Alex, who were separated as infants when their parents were murdered in Hong Kong. Chad is raised by a family in Beverly Hills and becomes a fitness instructor, while Alex is raised on the streets and becomes a smuggler. Talk about the luck of the draw there. 25 years later, they find each other, they team up to take revenge on the people who killed their parents. And the film requires Van Damme to act opposite of himself using split-screen technology. Now, technology might be different in how they did it with Sinners, but this is pulled off really, really well right here. It's a lot of fun. Van Damme commits to both sides of this character fully. You have Bolo Young back as the villain. He was often a villain with Van Damme and in movies like this. Double Impact isn't trying to be anything other than the most Van Damme action movie ever created, and it succeeds in that in a lot of ways. Turn your brain off, have some fun. You will have a blast with Double Impact. All right, for the next one, we jump to 1994 and Drop Zone. Now, this is Wesley Snipes in a crazy pitch right here, because you have Wesley Snipes as a DEA agent who needs to catch a criminal, and the criminal's operation involves skydiving. So Wesley Snipes, a DEA agent, has to learn to skydive, and that's the movie. That is your pitch. And oh, let me sprinkle a little more dust in this, because Gary Busey, Crazy Gary, is the villain in this, and he's doing Gary Busey things in this movie, and it is the peak of Gary Busey doing Gary Busey things in this movie. Hey, Utah, Get Me Too, he was completely straight and sane in that compared to this. He's got his unhinged energy in here in only the way Gary Busey can do. There's sequences that are filmed practically when it comes to the skydiving, though, and that's pretty cool. It's got real skydivers in it, real altitudes, real aerial choreography going on here, and that is super cool. Definitely something you wouldn't see today. And so it has a lot of kinetic energy to it in a way that CGI is just never going to have. Wesley Snipes here is just in his like post Demolition Man phase, in a few years before he locked in as Blade. So Drop Zone is in that weird time, right along with another movie, you know, that could have been on this list, Passenger 57. It's a crazy premise, but it actually comes off pretty well done with a very competent director here who has done other action films. Check out Drop Zone, a beautiful 4K right here by Vinegar Syndrome Cinematograph line. It's on streaming as well. Drop in and check it out. Now let's jump over to one that just ekes into the 90s in 1990 with Navy SEALs. And this is Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn. And Navy SEALs is really underrated. Now I have this Vinegar Syndrome VSU 4K. You can grab the 4K and it looks beautiful. It enhances the experience of this movie, but Navy SEALs kind of gets dismissed as like a Top Gun kind of knockoff, all of that, but it's really got its own 90s sort of chest thumping energy to it here that stands above that criticism. The politics of the film are exactly what you would expect and love about a 1990 action film, and I absolutely love it. It's America, hell yeah, all the way. The practical action sequence in this, all of them, the Navy SEALs are really good. This is not like some straight to video kind of project here. This is a big film. Real water, real underwater photography in this. Production that went to big time lengths to make sure that the military sequences felt authentic in this film, using real equipment, real environments. Michael Biehn, who had been in Terminator, obviously, as the antagonist of that film to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. Charlie Sheen doing big time Charlie Sheen stuff in the early 90s. He was big in the 80s and 90s. Charismatic, fun, believable enough, entertaining to carry, you know, scenes. You believe it all. It's genuinely well executed. I don't really see the hate around this film. I don't even really understand calling this a bad film. This is just a solid 90s action movie. Yeah, it feels slightly more 80s, but it's right on that line for a reason. Check out Navy SEALs. Now we're going to go back to Vinegar Syndrome one more time because they're famous for putting out bad movies that are actually pretty good. And the next one has got an A-list cast. It's 1995's Virtuosity. And this one is definitely a wild, crazy action, sci-fi kind of thriller right here. But you have Denzel Washington headlining this thing. You got Russell Crowe in here. And this film is very pertinent to today because this is basically AI run amok. It's set in the near future at the time of 1999's Los Angeles, and you have Russell Crowe, who plays an AI composite of 200 of history's most prolific serial killers and murderers, and he actually escapes the constraints of his AI, becomes a real being and self-aware. I mean, I don't know how much more pertinent you can get to today, but this thing could be made right now. This might be a movie that's ahead of its time. That's a list that I'm working on. You could argue that this is ahead of its time because it fits in. If somebody made this right now, it would probably hit different. It got overlooked then, despite Denzel Washington headlining this. Russell Crowe wasn't really the Russell Crowe that we think of quite yet. But the movie is well done. It looks great on this 4K. There's good action. There's some intense questions that we're starting to deal with now. Virtuosity is one that's worth your time. No, it's not the greatest thing Denzel's ever done, obviously, but it deserves more than being overlooked and cast aside as a bad 90s action film. A lot to this one that's relevant to today. Virtuosity. All right, so next up, we're going to go to the mid-late 90s, if that's a thing, with 1996's The Substitute. And this one stars Tom Berenger and Ernie Hudson, of course, Winston Zeddemore. And I remember driving to go see this one and then renting it later. And it's been cast aside, but you got Tom Berenger, who had a great run during that time. And he plays a mercenary, and his girlfriend gets attacked at a Miami school where she's a school teacher. And Tom Berenger does what any mercenary would do, logically, in this situation, right? He creates an entire fake identity, gets himself hired as a substitute teacher. You might have saw that coming with the title there. And goes undercover to go after the gang inside the school. And Tom Berenger plays this completely straight and on the level, no winking at the camera, no acknowledging that this is kind of absurd, that you're infiltrating this school to go after these teen gang members and stuff. Not leaning into that kind of ridiculousness, but he plays Jonathan Shale, who is a mercenary turned educator with complete seriousness. It's fun. Like, if you want to see Tom Berenger throwing, high school gang members out windows in 4K, grab you the Vestron Video 4K from Lionsgate Limited, but you can check this one out on streaming too. This is fun. You've got Mark Anthony in this film playing a gang member in the Miami location. This movie is completely crazy. It fits this category maybe better than a lot on this list. Still a lot of fun. Worth checking it out. It still feels slightly more 80s to me in the whacked out premise. That's what makes it fit on this list even more. The Substitute. All right, now we're getting to one that I'll fight on, because I don't think there's anything about this movie that's bad, but I hear this all the time. It is 1997's Spawn, and this one stars Michael J. White as Spawn, the comic book sort of anti-hero, superhero type character, the Hellspawn himself, Al Simmons, who is an assassin that gets double-crossed and dies and goes to hell and makes a deal that he will lead hell's armies for Malbolgia, the devil himself, and come back with all these powers of the Hellspawn. And this one also has Martin Sheen in it, who's playing this thing straight up. Now, a lot of people don't like this because it has old, like, PlayStation 2 kind of CGI graphics to that. I don't care. It's a product of its time. The whole rest of the movie, though, is so fun, so well done, dark, cinematic, rainy, just this whole vibe and aesthetic around it. There's a lot of physical performances here. You even have John Leguizamo in here playing the clown, who is really good in this and being gross and vile. This movie just got a recent 4K from Arrow Video. It looks outstanding. Yes, the CGI can qualify this thing as bad, but I think this is a super underrated, very entertaining film that is very, very well done, very well acted. You got D.B. Sweeney in here playing a good, sympathetic character, the best friend of Al Simmons, who marries his wife Wanda while he's gone and in hell. This movie, super underrated, not bad in my opinion. Yeah, the CGI is bad, but man, really good movie. Check out Spawn. Now, for the next one, we go to one that I talked about maybe 2 months ago when it first came out on 4K. I did an episode of one of my recurring action film things called Babes, Blood, and Bullets. And this film was on there, but nothing kind of exemplifies this list better than this film. So there's no way that I couldn't talk about 1991's Stone Cold, starring Brian Bosworth, the former Oklahoma Sooner NFL football player, crazy linebacker with the mullet and the hair and the tractor lines shaved in the side of his head. Played for the Seahawks back when I was playing football when I was young. So I thought he was cool. So of course I had to see this movie. And this movie literally blows up everything that's not nailed down. It's very 80s because, look, all you have to do is like look at a car or a motorcycle or anything in this film and it's just going to blow up. We're just going to blow it up. But he plays Joe Huff, who is an Alabama cop suspended from the force and recruited by the FBI to infiltrate a the racist biker gang, basically, in Mississippi. And the biker gang is led by Chains Cooper, who is Lance Henriksen. You got William Forsythe in this playing Ice, who's sort of the gang's enforcer. And Henriksen and Forsythe as your villains. Brian Bosworth as your good guy in here. That tells you all you need to know about this movie. It's fun. It's crazy. Over the top. Bosworth is not a trained actor in any way. He is what he is. Physical, awesome, giving one-liners. The movie has some surprises. Doesn't really end. Doesn't really take some spins that you would think. It's got your boobs, blood, and bullets, and babes. All of that stuff is in here. It is pure 80s, 90s adrenaline. It just happened to be in 1991. Stone Cold, great 4K here from Kino Lorber, but you can check this one out on Tubi, I believe. But it is worth a spin. Stone Cold. All right, now this next one, I got to be honest. This one's from 1997, but I did not see this until like a year or two ago when it got recommended to me on a blind buy from my buddy Daniel over at the Cobwebs channel. It's 1997's Drive. And this, I'm going to be careful because this is another one that I don't actually think this is a bad movie in any way. I don't think this is a bad movie. It's kind of a B movie, but I won't say it's a bad movie because you got Mark Dacascos playing in this as Toby Wong, a man who he's been sort of experimented on as a biomechanic. He has like a biomechanical device implanted in his chest by a Chinese corporation that gives him superhuman physical abilities. And the corporation wants him back. He's like the $6 million man or whatever. But he escapes to America with a briefcase full of cash and ends up having to team up, having a buddy team up with Kadeem Hardison, a down on his luck musician. So you got the whole buddy cop energy going on there, but there is a lot of good fight choreography in this film. You've got a lot of cool stunts in here, and it's one that I really had not seen at all, and I completely dug it. It's a lot of fun. If you like martial arts films, if you like road movies, if you just like 80s, 90s action films, the speed, the creativity, the fights, the car chases, this thing feels like it has an even bigger budget than it did. And it'll often embarrass some bigger budget action movies with what it does right here. It's not a secretly great film. Maybe a lot of people don't know about it. I didn't even know about it. I don't consider it bad. B-movie territory, yes, but a very fun action film. Drive. Check it out. And finally, we close out near the end of the decade. I had already graduated high school, and one of my favorite actors of all time trots out a sci-fi action film that everybody kind of overlooks. It's 1998's Soldier, starring Kurt Russell. And you've got Paul W.S. Anderson directing this, and this is the guy... it was written by David Webb Peoples, and that is the guy who wrote Blade Runner and co-wrote Unforgiven. I did not know that until I looked that up for this video, and I was like, well, that makes sense why I like it so much. So you got two great screenplays right there, and then he comes along and he writes Soldier. And Soldier is set in the distant future where soldiers are bred from birth, and they're selected as infants. They're trained their entire lives as perfect soldiers, perfect killing machines, ignore emotion, pain, identity, all of that, and it's all beyond their function. And Kurt Russell plays Sergeant Todd, who is like one of the original generation of these soldiers, so he's kind of discarded when a new supermodel comes out, if you will. And he's left as dead waste on a disposal kind of like trash planet where a community of settlers are hiding out and trying to scrape by a living any way that they can and have a community. And he speaks fewer lines in this movie than in any movie he's ever done, I gotta say. But it's by design because that's the kind of character he plays. And then he starts to find his humanity. And he has an extremely like physical performance in this. He's in great shape. He kicks ass. There's a lot of awesome action sequences, gunfights, fist fights, physical explosions, martial arts fights, rain, fire, all of that happening all over the place as he finds his humanity and wants to protect and care for these people that took him in and tried to teach him what it means to be human. I really dug this film. I had not seen it in many, many years until I got this Arrow Video 4K. If you haven't checked this one out ever, you could call it bad. A lot of people called it bad at the time. They thought that he was robotic in his acting, but he was supposed to be. That's what the script called for. Underrated movie. Call it bad if you want. I call it awesome. Kurt Russell did a great job. It fits on this list. Check out Soldier. So there you go, 10 bad films that are actually pretty damn awesome. They're fun to watch, and if you can enjoy the movie, who's to tell you it's bad? If it has fun and entertainment, it makes you laugh, it makes you snicker, it makes you enjoy it for those 90 minutes, there's no such thing as bad. It is fun. I think you got 10 right here that are a lot of fun to watch. The 90s tried to figure out what it was going to do with action films besides Stallone, besides Schwarzenegger, Gibson, and Willis. And it had some hits and misses. It had to bring those guys back to do more. But there are a lot of fun times to be had with 90s action films. And this is 10 of them. But let me know some of your favorites. What do you think of these? And drop them in the comments. They could end up on another list because there are a lot of movies out there that people have forgotten, discarded, overlooked, that deserve a second chance or a first chance for some of you that have never seen it. And that's what I got for you this time. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, hype the video. Apparently that helps. And if you want to help support what we're doing here a little bit more, you can join my Patreon. The link is at the description. You'll get deep dives into all kinds of movies like this, behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, special members only videos, all access to my past live streams, so much more, and everything helps the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.